Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Lunch Break Live, real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Carrie De La Cruz. I made a prison break from my day job to be here with you guys because I missed you so much yesterday, and gosh, and then it was a long weekend, and this stuff is really therapeutic for me. So really happy to be joining you guys today. I have something kind of interesting to talk about as usual. So welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you invited a friend, or as I said yesterday, or an enemy. I'm just happy you're there. Whether you're watching on demand or live, thank you for being here and spending your time with me. Today's program I am calling The Prison of Obesity. Okay? And the idea behind this is we can feel imprisoned by the disease of obesity. We can feel like prisoners where we can't get out of hell, the hell of our bodies and the hell of our circumstances and the hell of our everyday lives. And it can feel like we are unable to be free. And I think that's what most of us want for our lives, is to be able to live free from obesity. So here's what I want to say about that as I open the show. The disease of obesity is a death sentence. I think you guys agree with that. It causes high blood pressure, heart and sleep problems, back and joint problems, mobility problems, and quality of life problems. Don't you guys agree? Basically, when you are living with untreated obesity, it's like living on death row, and you're just waiting for your number to be called. It is natural to want to be freed from the imprisonment of the disease. So we look for all sorts of ways to get out, don't we? To escape those chains that bind. I know I did. And it is not unreasonable to say that at some point we're going to hope for a get out of jail free card, right? Whatever it takes, whatever we can do to just get out. And we want to wake up from the nightmare and just have it all be over, right? But it doesn't happen. Not really. Because you see, we have to work really hard at it. We have to work really hard at our recovery. We have to work really hard to be free. Because freedom isn't free, even though the first four letters of it sound like it might be, okay? Let me just tell you, I chose weight loss surgery 9 years ago now, because I wanted to put an end to my imprisonment. That was what I chose to treat my obesity. I wanted to be free of the chains that bound, okay? And I think I did what a lot of people do. All right, I'm not alone in making that decision. Many of you who are joining me today either made that decision or are preparing to make that decision or know someone who might have. Okay, that is one option for treating morbid, deadly obesity, and that was the option I chose. Now, I think a lot of people do that, right? And I have been living freedom that I have chosen for nearly a decade. It is something that I cherish and value and never, ever take for granted, okay? But I did make the choice to reform my life, my behaviors, okay? I made the decision to stop thinking like a prisoner. But not everyone does. And that is really the point of my show today. Not everyone makes the decision to stop thinking like and behaving like a prisoner, okay? You have heard how people who regain what they lost, right? You've heard about these people, because why? They didn't change their behaviors. I think regain is a lot like recidivism. Have you guys heard of recidivism? And it's what happens when criminals get out of jail and then commit crimes and end up right back in jail. Okay? In other words, they do exactly what they always do, and they get exactly what they always got. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? I mean, how often do you say, I don't understand, you got out of jail, you were free. Why did you commit crime again and just go right back where you were? Have you ever said that? Have you ever seen those shows where you're like, why would you give freedom away for a life in prison. Have you ever said those things? All right. It's because it's what they know. Career criminals do what they know. It is what they're comfortable with. Do you agree? Well, guess what? I kind of think that's what happens with obesity. We do what we always do because it's what we know. Do you agree? It sounds a lot like criminal behavior, doesn't it? And I'm not saying that we're, bad people, that we are criminals, but we are prisoners, aren't we? And a lot of us make that choice because it's a way of life. It's something that we're familiar with. It's what we know, and it's what they know. And a lot of criminals will say they couldn't make it on the outside. Have you heard that? They're like, I couldn't make it on the outside because I didn't have that structure, that routine. I need someone to tell me when to get up and when to go to bed and what to eat, what to do. I need someone to be in charge of my life to keep me on track. Right? Have you guys heard that? They need the structure. Well, I think what these people are saying is they need someone to do for them what they won't do for themselves because they believe they can't do it for themselves. They want someone to do for them what they won't do for themselves, to be responsible for them. Do you guys get where I'm going with this? I think so. All right. I hear that a lot in people who choose weight loss surgery. They say, I want to have the surgery because I need something to stop me from eating what I shouldn't eat, to encourage me to eat what I should, right? To do the things I need to do to lose weight and keep it off. So that's why I'm going to have surgery, because I need something to keep me on the straight and narrow. I need something to keep me on the right path. Have you heard that? That's why people do it, right? Here's the interesting thing. If we look at weight loss surgery or a healthy lifestyle as if we're looking to something outside of us to do for us what we don't believe we can do for ourselves, then I think we're trading a death sentence for a life sentence. Life imprisonment. That's what that sounds like to me. If I am expecting my surgery to do for me what I need to do for myself, then I have traded the death sentence of morbid obesity for the life sentence of my stomach, my procedure, hoping I'll throw up, hoping I'll get sick, hoping I'll dump. That's not freedom, guys. That is not freedom from obesity. That is trading one form of imprisonment for another. All right? Recovery really means that you choose freedom. It means that you are responsible for yourself, for your decisions, for your errors, for making all of your choices, whether they're healthy or unhealthy. You're responsible for those. There's no prison guard. There are no bars except those that you put upon yourself. The cell that you lock yourself into. That's all there is what you create for yourself. You do not need someone to tell you what you can eat and can't eat. You don't need someone to make you go to the gym, right? That's up to you. All right. I have this kind of interesting connection here. All right. I want you to think about this. Now, I often couch things in biblical stories. And many of us are familiar with the Israelites who fled Egypt with Moses, okay? And maybe you're not too familiar with the story. They wandered around in the desert for 40 years. That's the first thing, right? Round and around and around, could never get to the promised land for 40 years. But here's the thing that you may not know. Did you know that the Israelites complained and wanted to go back to Egypt? They wanted to go back to slavery because it was what they knew. They were happier to live in slavery, being enslaved, because it meant that someone would tell them what to do, make sure they had food to eat, right? They knew what was expected of them. Out in the desert, wandering around, going to the promised land, it meant that they had to work for their freedom. It was something they didn't know. It was unfamiliar and it was scary. How many of us want to go back to enslavement because it's what we know? That's the big question I have right there. Only you can answer that. I will tell you my answer. No way. I'm not going back. I don't care how hard it is in the desert. I don't care, because there's an oasis out there, and that oasis is recovery. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to think about. If you have a prisoner mentality, you know what that's going to lead to. If you have a freedom mentality, you know where that can go, right? Think about what imprisoned you in the first place. What put you in that prison? The imprisonment of your body, the imprisonment of limitations, limited mobility and pain, and horrible medical conditions, you know, the need for insulin and all sorts of medications, maybe a sleep apnea machine because you couldn't breathe at night, right? That imprisonment. What put you there? What behaviors, what choices and decisions and attitudes put you there in the first place? All right? Think about the laws you broke, all right? The laws of good health. Think about the laws you broke where you stopped doing what you knew you needed to do to be healthy. And more importantly, think about the laws, your laws that you broke. The laws where you said, I will do this and I will stop doing that and I will never do that and that will not be an option. So we've got the laws of good health, and we've got our own laws where we decide what it is that we need to do to follow those laws of good health. Guess what my laws look like? My laws look like a list that I made that says, no, those things on the list are not options and I will not eat them. Those are my laws, my rules. By following those rules, I stay out of prison, the prison of obesity, and I get to live in the freedom of recovery. See, I know what put me in prison in the first place. It was, I kept eating things and didn't stop. I ate whether I was hungry or not, usually not. I ate because it sounded good. I ate because it tasted good. I ate because I was sad, or I was happy, or I was scared, or I was lonely, or I was freaked out and out of control, because I was breathing, because it was Monday, because I was standing up, because I was laying down. Guess what? Those are no longer options, because my rules say I will not eat the things that I have put on my food sobriety list. More than that, because you know I talk about the fact that recovery is an attitude. I have changed my attitude. I work very hard to address all of that stuff that was eating me up, that I was feeding, right? And I'm looking at it and saying, where do I have control? Where do I not? What can I influence? What can I not influence? What is the appropriate or healthy response here rather than a reaction? Okay, so I am working my recovery through my sobriety and also healthy behaviors. Okay, ultimately, if you break the laws of healthiness and you break your own laws, then I think you're robbing yourself of life. Okay? When you choose to be a prisoner of your obesity and food addiction, you're a career criminal for yourself. Okay? Doesn't mean you're bad, but it means you're not doing yourself any favors. What do you need to do to be free? That's up to you. I can't make that decision for you, but a good way to figure that out is to ask in what ways you are contributing to your own disease. In what ways are you contributing to your own imprisonment? You have to change those behaviors one day at a time. I can't change them for you. No one can change them for you, least of all surgery. Okay? So that is my little story about how we might be exchanging a death sentence for a life sentence rather than choosing the freedom of recovery. So on that note, as I squint to see the clock, let me go ahead and take a look at what you guys are saying behind the scenes there. Hopefully you have not been trying to tell me you can't hear me, because, oh, that's happened before. But I saw hearts going by, so I think that was a good thing. So let me just check and see who's here. All right, my mama front and center. Hi, Mom. I'm so glad you're here. And Lisa, hey, you're becoming quite the regular, aren't you? And Melissa, I'm glad you're here too. Just shared your video. Let them know you appreciate it. Oh, that's weird. Melissa Victoria Smith just shared your video. Let them know you appreciate it. Hey, Melissa Victoria Smith, I appreciate it. This is so funny what they changed on Facebook. It's like, what am I reading? Am I reading what you wrote or what they said? All right, Mom, I appreciate you sharing my video. Natalie, so happy you're here. And Carrie. All right, another Carrie. So anyway, it sounds like we are lightly attended today because, well, I wasn't here yesterday when I hoped I would be because the day job got in the way, but that's okay. I hope that you will share this video with others and encourage them to watch on demand because I think this stuff is important and I think it needs to be said. And of course, it always comes down to the fact that it's just my opinion, you know? It doesn't mean it's necessarily right, but it sure does make sense to me. So anyway, I will leave you guys to think about, you know, the disease of obesity and if you guys are putting yourselves in prison or if you are looking to choose freedom of recovery. And let's talk more about it. Feel free to leave your comments here on the wall. Let's talk about it. And also I want to encourage you guys to ask those questions. Put them on my wall and say, hey, Carrie, I want a future lunch break live to talk about this or that. And I will do my best to work it in. I think I still have a little short list of things that I can talk about, but as ever, I want to stay relevant and current. So please feel free to give me some feedback. And thank you guys for being here. I'm going to remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live the freedom of recovery. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.